We're here with Jorge Santin, who's running for Miami Springs City Council, Group 1. So, George, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yes.
And thank you for the commitment to run. It takes a lot to run for City Council, so we appreciate when residents step up to the plate and decide to run. So, for the residents and viewers who may be watching this and aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your background and your journey to, growing up and how you ended up here in Miami Springs. So, I'll leave it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I have been living here for 23 years in Miami Springs. My older daughter was a couple months old when she moved when we moved into Springs, and the moment they can put a soccer ball on their feet, we were involved. We love this community, and I got involved, of course, with the all the different boards for the Little League, for soccer. And then I became the chair for the Recreation Commission for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So just recently, only when I had to resign to take a position in the Economic Task Force that the City Council selected. But obviously, like everybody else, we love the small town feel.
Yeah.
Everybody, knows everybody's name, and you feel safe, and you have that community feel. So it's no different. Obviously, you can't just get complacent on that being the only case, so you have to continue to work and be part of it.
Yeah.
So, and my wife, we're pretty vested too. My wife owns a little Twice as Sweet, the local hometown bakery.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna do a shameless plug. Tell us a little bit about Twice as Sweet.
She works her butt off.
I know she does.
and she works at the airlines, and then she comes over there and opens up and keeps going. So yeah. But the point is that we love this community, and sometimes you can say love all the time, but you got to show with action.
Sure.
And so we've been involved.
Yeah. So, and you raised two daughters that here in Miami Springs, and how old are they now?
Yeah, now they're 24 and 21.
Right.
And when they've been soccer players and softball, they played all the sports, but literally when they did successful, they played college soccer.
Got it.
But they grew up here. It was the local programs.
Right.
Which we took a lot of pride in making sure that we got better every year, and maybe the future generation of soccer players in this town will benefit from all the hard work. So both my girls went to school in Blessed Trinity.
Okay.
We're obviously super involved there, and then they went to LaSalle High School.
Okay. And I want to thank you in terms of what you did for soccer, because my daughter played soccer, my son played soccer for a little bit, and it's definitely and for anyone who's been part of the soccer club here, it's one of the best clubs around in South Florida, and it's a great program, and great asset for families raising kids, and just a great sport and a wonderful organization. So I want to thank you for your involvement in that organization.
Thank you.
So all right, so you're doing that, and then let the audience know what do you do for a living?
I'm a commercial property appraiser.
Okay.
Our company's one of the oldest firms in South Florida.
Okay.
They first started out with AmeriFirst Savings and Loans, which they turned to be not when I was involved there. Obviously, I was too young, but so we have a good reputation in the industry. Obviously, we put the brakes on a lot of things that sometimes developers come in and they want all kind of stuff, and we worry about the bank, and the bank's our client. And so we normally just do our best to make sense of what's presented in front of us.
Got it.
So I think that's, I've been doing it now for 20 years.
All right.
Years,
so you're working in that commercial appraisal space, and so you got the kids off to college, and now they're adults, and then you have your wife has a business. What made you decide, hey, I want to run for Miami Springs City Council?
Well, obviously my involvement played a lot to it, and sometimes I just feel like you need to be involved, right? And this election is one of the most important ones we've had in a long time.
Yeah,
I truly feel this way, and that's why I wanted to make sure that because of my involvement, that I would be able to service the community better, because these decisions are not easy, as we all know, and they're tough, and you have to have that heartfelt feeling for your community when you're going to make it, because if you're not involved, you're obviously going to just do a decision, and the chances of you ever seeing these people again probably not going to happen. So I think that this particular one, there's tough decisions to be made, and
Yeah.
and I wanted to play my part in it, and I feel like I really do have the community's feeling at heart.
Okay, so among those, there's a variety of issues that are hitting Miami Springs right now. From you got the 20-year-old one in terms of annexation, but you also have parking situation, that new downtown development, new businesses, some developments that have kind of frozen, others that are moving along. So, what do you see are the kind of big issues affecting Miami Springs right now?
Well, I think that the continued pressure to try to continue improving the economic activity that we got in our city, especially downtown.
Right.
And obviously, when they're walking around, of course, and knocking on doors, it's just overwhelming. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is usually the public parking.
Right.
And the issues with the town center.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yesterday's solutions are today's problems if you don't critically think them out.
Right.
That's just the reality. And obviously that town center wasn't well thought out. And we're not going to go into more specifics about it because
Sure.
I think there's enough stories that have been out in the newspapers that, and part of the economic task, we're part of it to kind of expose a lot of those oversights. But in general, safety is another issue. And it comes from 36th Street and that particular pocket when we have the motels and not proper lighting. I mean, you can go down Curtis Parkway on certain times I can tell you the last months were simple things that's just the lighting.
Right.
And, us being involved enough to, let the city know.
Right.
But the lighting alone is a safety hazard,
Yep.
So those are the two things I think has been the most obvious things that we want to address and I'm committed to.
Sure. As for, you've also been talking, going door to door and residents, giving you their opinions on certain things. Anything that surprised you or an issue that had just coming up a lot with residents that you either, we're going to tackle that, or something new that's come up about that maybe you hadn't heard about before. What are residents telling you?
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place, right?
Sure.
But aside from the two things we just talked about,
Yeah.
It'll go from a light pole right in front of their house.
Sure.
And you're like, you take those things for granted, right? You're like, well, when I walk the dog at night,
Yeah.
it's still there, and they haven't, and then you talk to one department, and one department tells you call the city and the FPNL, so that type of thing is
You get the fingers pointing in different
both
directions.
directions, and obviously this using traffic into the circle. What are we going to do about that? And and I think police presence, and I'm like, well, like everything else, we're limited by resources, right?
Sure.
And of course, the ideal thing, I spoke to Chief Guzman the other day, and he would love to have more police. It's amazing to hear that for years they've had like 43 on average on staff, and now that we're, a more growing community, they have 47.
Sure.
And they're short on some of them that are still training.
Yeah.
So, sometimes they have to double dip into their staff, but to use them somewhere else, so you can't have them, especially the guys from the motorcycles.
Yeah.
They're the ones that do a lot of the traffic, and they do an amazing job. But if I got to call the guy who normally does that to go and help me on a burglary,
Yeah.
there goes the opportunity for that person to stop traffic and maybe soothe the traffic for the future. So, but yeah, in general, you have a spectrum of concerns and things that you want to take care of, but nothing really that I could say that is kind of.
So nothing surprised you?
No, I think everybody might, because everybody seems to always at least have that one, particular thing. Maybe you don't make a pressing thing about it, but other people do,
Sure. So as the police situation at 36th Street, much has been said about the, hotel crimes and how much the hotels suck the police resources, towards the hotels, and the need for a bed tax, and obviously Mayor Mitchell has been adamant pursuing that channel. Aside from getting a bed tax, any other thoughts in terms of how to get more resources for the police so that they can address the 36th Street crime, but still be able to handle residential things from speeding to any local, any calls to the residents?
Well, it's like I've said before, and we said it in the Economic Task Force, we have to have a commitment to our downtown areas and to other commercial areas to be successful. But we have to play a part as a city administration. You can't just leave it on the business owners. Yeah, of course, it's up to their business savvy or business plan, and hopefully they administer it well to be successful. But you play a part. Like, well, you can't just leave it to them, because then you don't tackle other things that they need to improve. So I think it's very important that we commit to it. I think that just being able to get activity like we just got on, not so much the town center, because the town center, obviously, we're only getting raw land taxes, and that's one of the big problems.
Right.
We're talking about, we're probably leaving $140,000 a year on the table the longer that project takes. But that's another,
Oh, wow.
because they went back and they reassessed themselves as land. So you don't, just like we have one in a diner at 36th Street.
Yep.
That now it's now land.
Right.
Well, great, but
But
they're
the tax value is
they're only
less.
paying $2,500 in taxes.
Okay.
So there's way we can improve it and maybe get enough money to get more police.
Okay.
And so I think those are the things that we can do. I mean, that project on Hook Square, who obviously they purchased it, and the gentleman is doing an amazing job. The
Yeah.
guy has not wasted any
Yeah, Manny
time.
Virus has been very fast in his
And
movement.
he's putting the money in it. Obviously, he wants to improve it. Whether he sells it or not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
He's not just being complacent. He's
Yeah.
actually doing something about it to improve the value. But just on that sale alone, before when the science store that was there,
Yeah.
we're going to almost go 40 to 50% more.
Yeah.
So I think continue to improve our downtown and us playing a part in that improvement.
Right.
And make them successful. I think we'll end up being able to relieve the police with more staff. We have the monies for it, right?
So, you brought up a couple things there with police and funding and the tax. Now, one of the things I think, talking about what Manny did, is he almost set like a gold standard of how to revitalize some of the facades, and just he didn't change floor plans. He literally just changed facades and modernized, put impact windows, doors, redid some interiors, some flooring. But frankly, the ideal way I think many residents would like to see. I think the only thing residents may want to see is a Pueblo style facade. But I mean, you couldn't ask for more from Manny. I mean, in terms of how to renovate without impacting, he didn't do any changes in terms of that would impact parking or anything like that. So really just how to change and brighten up the area. That being, let's call it the gold standard, and your experience with the Business and Economic Development Task Force, and I know the task force has a whole set of improvements, but any tidbit from that you think we should absolutely apply to help incentivize or get some of the legacy business owners that are along Westward and other areas to maybe do something similar to that to help revitalize the area?
Yeah, we've talked about it in the task force, of course, of, maybe offering or getting some grant matching funds for
Yeah.
some of these property owners, or tax incentives to do it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you would think also because things like Mr. Vargas is doing.
Right.
And the potential that is there, you're going to start getting more attraction from investors from the outside to say, you know what, we could do the same for this particular side of the block on Westwood Drive or any other area. So that alone might encourage two things. Improve it because your values are going to go higher.
Right.
And you might be able to get more rent and so forth. So I think it just is a domino effect, right? So that's why what he's doing, what even Sushi Saki and Siamo, that's what we want to look. You're right.
Yeah.
That's the gold standard. And we want to continue it on. And it can be done as long as we're committed to helping them do this. But I think some type of tax incentive and matching grant money.
Right.
But I think, if anything, I think it's just something that they're going to see that is improving, and maybe they want to join on board.
Right.
Now,
as far as parking, and I think you mentioned a garage is needed. Give us some of the different parking solutions that we may have to look for.
Yeah, I think obviously a parking garage is expensive.
Yeah.
And the numbers are all over the place, but just to get 200 spaces, you're probably looking at $8 million plus.
Right.
And also, the only places where to find this is behind the post office.
Right.
And technically, the police department with their trust fund, purchased some land there.
Yeah.
So, there's some ways of maybe them helping, because now they have covered parking, but
Sure.
after talking to Chief Guzman, he's like, that's not even enough space for them.
Yeah,
So
there's not enough space there for our
so
department.
that's why I think at the end of the day, Nestor, and that's my goal, aside from the commitment to our areas, right? Is to have a vision that the whole community can back up.
Right.
Right, and support. And that's why I get so involved when I see the younger families with little kids.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna make decisions up there that's gonna affect their future. So if I don't get them involved, they should. And that vision has to be, we're not gonna please everybody, right? But have that vision clear, like, this is what our city's gonna look like. We want that. From every little bit, from the parks to the parking.
Yeah.
To the facade, the aesthetics, all that, this is how we want it to look. And then, of course, with a strategic plan, because we've always been like reaction type, we react after we know that we have a problem.
Right.
But the strategic plan will at least allow us to have that vision, and we all agree on it. Okay, we're gonna shoot for it.
Right.
And the strategic plan will let us identify all the community needs, including parking, including the aesthetics, including all the other stuff including safety, or the parks, more walkways, everything.
Right.
And then as we go along, a strategic plan actually allows you to measure it, So if you're going ahead, hey, wait a minute, we can't go there. We haven't even done this.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think we have never really had a vision of what this town's gonna look like.
yeah.
Ideas, but not a vision.
I couldn't agree more where you see there's like we want to have this little project over here. But let's put that all into a master plan for the city, whether it's, the long-term plan for tennis, and long-term plan for parking, and long-term plan for recreation as a whole, as well as long-term plan, what that big goals are. And then you set the goals. I think kind of what you're saying here is you set the goals here, and then you find the funding for it after the fact, and going for either grants or what have you, but come up with what the master plan is for the city. So I appreciate what you're saying
super
there.
important.
Yeah. One of the other big things that this new council is going to be responsible for is a new city manager. So what are you looking for in a new city manager?
Well, I think obviously the obvious thing is experience, right?
Right.
And not necessarily as a city manager, because it could be someone that has experience being the assistant city manager, but in a community like ours, that has actually done what we want to do.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So I think it's important that somebody that has gone through it, because a lot of things that we want to do on paper sounds great, but if you don't have the experience behind it, it goes in deaf ears. That's why on the task force, we recommended that, if you hire some type of economic development PR person, or person in charge of directing, or joining just one of the national associations out there that actually do revitalizations of downtowns. Main Street, I think it's called National Main Street America, which I joined just to get some of that information. But they can help you with the resources, because they've done it. They've done 2,000 other communities like that. So I think we need someone with experience. What we want to do with that vision. So that's, to me, is important when I start, listening to possibilities of somebody.
So, aside from city manager, we're going to step back into a little bit of your background. You did serve on a variety of boards for the city. Give me your from the different boards, some of your proudest board or contribution that you've had at some of these different boards. I know you mentioned Business and Economic Development Task Force. You're part of them, part of the Recreation Board. Explain to us some of those different boards and which board you felt like had the most impact to residents.
Look, I think it's hard because it's an advisory.
Right.
And a lot of the reasons why I'm running, Mister, is because, I want those all these suggestions and I hear from the people, because, like I said, at the end of the day, you really have to do the walk, to do the talk. Not just on the campaign trail. Okay, everybody says that. Yeah, you get some information, but you gotta feel it. I know exactly what they do need or don't need, and to me, it's I've served as an advisory, and a lot of times it has gone deaf ears and frustrated me enough. Where sometimes we're like, I think one of the times we recommended that you just defunct the advisory board because like it was going in deaf ears.
Right.
And then, of course, the next day I got calls. Like, George,
Yeah.
what's going on? Well, I'm tired of you guys not listening to me, you know? But things have changed because this administration and the city council now has actually gotten more involved. 'Cause even my last year
Right.
at the recreation, they actually were attending.
Oh, good.
You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, I feel like, you know, the lighting, you know, the Musco lighting grant money that we got,
Uh-huh.
we were pretty involved in that, even though we didn't get the credit for it. But we did a lot of behind the scenes stuff, you know?
Okay.
But so stuff like that I feel good that finally, but you know, it is frustrating. You know? I can't say it's not because
So you're trying to say, hey, let's eliminate that layer and let's go directly and join the city
Yeah.
council to make more of an impact and make those changes a reality.
right.
All right. As far as you know, the election's coming around the corner. The election day is April 4th. When's the early elections? What, the Friday?
April, well, yeah, March 31st, which is a Friday,
Uh-huh.
and then April Fool's Day, Saturday,
The Saturday, April 1st.
and of course
then
April 4th.
So the early voting dates are going to be at the city council.
Yeah.
Or that rather, Miami Springs City Hall.
City
second
Hall,
floor.
City Hall, correct.
And then the election days at the,
Country Club,
Uh-huh.
which I hope is still there because I know they're going to be doing. I would think that it's going to stay there because
Yes.
they're doing the construction.
yeah, no, but that's going to be at
Yeah,
the.
it's going to be fine. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, because I was talking to somebody there and they were like, I don't think so. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, no, it's going to be at City Hall. I mean, I'm sorry, let me be
Better
clear.
be.
At the so election day on April 4th, Tuesday, is at the Miami Springs Golf and Country Club from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
yeah.
And then, of course, if you want to vote by mail, you got to like
I think
register and make sure you get the stuff right
Yeah, by
now.
March 6th,
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, it's like you have to do it yesterday.
Yeah.
So, tell us, you know, for residents who are watching this video, why should they vote for you?
Well, I think, you know, obviously, I believe that I have the right temperament for this job,
Uh-huh.
okay? Because it obviously comes with, at the end of the day, with all the commitment that you have and hard work, it comes with criticism, you know?
Yeah.
So I think you gotta be a people's person, and have the right temperament to accept that you're gonna make everybody happy.
Yeah.
But, you know, ultimately, I just really, I always come back on the same thing, and I know I keep appealing on it, but I've been involved in this community. And I really feel like I have their ear and their concerns to heart. Because you could say it all day. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, Nestor, you could say it all day, but at the end of the day, your actions have to show it.
Right.
You know, and I believe that because of that walk, I can not just do the talk, I can actually serve the community well.
Perfect. Now, residents who want to reach out to you, maybe ask you some questions directly or learn more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, well, we have my site. I think it's Jorge Santin at MiamiSprings.com.
Okay.
And then I have a telephone number. It's on some of the door hangers, but it's 786-269-6374.
So 786-269.
6374.
6374. All right. So, guys, you can learn more at Jorge Santin for MiamiSprings.com.
Yes.
Jorge Santin for MiamiSprings.com, or give them a call directly and learn more about the candidates. Guys, most important thing is the election's coming up. It's important folks go out and vote. We have we have like 14,000 residents, and we'll have like 1,000, 2,000 people go out and, and actually vote. Folks, get out there and vote. Every vote matters. And, you know, we appreciate, George, you coming out here and sharing your views and communicating that with the residents. And that way, on come election day, they can make an informed decision, not just pick whose name they like or who they met outside
Right.
walking in,
Yep.
and make an informed decision before election day. Before that, any last words you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I ultimately want you to exactly what you're saying is, you know, really think it out and get involved in knowing about the person that you're about to vote for.
Sure.
Because this is a tough one,
Yeah.
and there's tough decisions to be made, and like I said, you can't please everybody. But at the end of the day, you want ultimately have somebody there that really has your back, you know, because that's the only way you make that. It's just tougher to make that decision, you know.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your contact information and your phone number. And folks, this is one of the things about Miami Springs. It's such a small community. You can reach out and literally call the candidates and talk to them for a little bit and find out what they stand for. And I know you're still going door to door and knocking on people's doors. So if you see George, you know, tell him hi. Again, George, we thank you for sharing your information with the audience, and wish you the best of luck on Election Day.
Thank you, Nestor, for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you, George.
Take care.